What if the person who saved your life was someone you ignored every single day? Someone you passed by without even a glance? Someone invisible to the world? This is the story of a man who had everything: wealth, power, success, and how, in one rainy evening, he lost it all and found something far greater. He was a powerful CEO, a man who had built an empire from the ground up. Everyone admired him. His ambition, his sharp suits, his no-nonsense attitude. He lived in a penthouse above the skyline, drove the latest black luxury car, and walked into meetings like he owned the world. Because in his eyes, he did. But behind the confidence was arrogance. Behind the suits, a cold heart. Every morning, at exactly 7:10 a.m., he visited the same coffee shop. Double espresso, no sugar, no smile. And every morning, a homeless man sat just outside the door. The man had a long beard, worn-out shoes, and eyes full of stories. But the CEO never looked. Not once. Not in 5 years. To him, that man was just another crack in the sidewalk. Irrelevant. Invisible. He believed kindness was weakness, and emotions were distractions. Until life decided to prove him wrong. But even empires fall. It started with one phone call. A major investor pulled out. A multi-million-dollar deal gone, just like that. The stock plummeted. The board panicked. Headlines screamed collapse, scandal, leadership failure. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Lawyers, journalists, angry partners. And for the first time in years, he didn't have an answer. He walked out of his glass tower in silence. No driver, no security, no plan, just the sound of his own footsteps echoing through the streets he once ruled. The clouds above thickened. Rain began to fall, not gentle rain, but cold and punishing. His suit was soaked. His hair clung to his forehead. Still, he walked and walked. Finally, exhausted and disoriented, he found a bench, the same one outside the coffee shop he passed every day. And he sat. No one recognized him now. Without his tailored suit, polished shoes, and bodyguards, he looked just like everyone else. And then, a shadow approached. The homeless man, the one he never looked at. The man didn't say anything at first. He just stood there in the rain and gently held out a broken umbrella. The handle was cracked, the fabric torn, but the gesture was whole. Then he spoke. "You look like you've lost everything," he said with calm eyes. "But maybe it's just your pride that's gone." Those words hit harder than the rain, harder than the headlines, harder than losing everything. Because deep down, he knew the man was right. He didn't sleep that night. The city outside his penthouse window looked the same, but something inside him had shifted. The words echoed in his mind. "Maybe it's just your pride that's gone." He kept thinking, how could a man with nothing see me more clearly than people who praise me every day? Who is he really? The next morning, for the first time in years, he skipped his coffee meeting. No calls, no emails, just silence. And a purpose. He returned to the same bench, same time, same street, but this time he came as someone different. He brought 2 coffees, no suits, no watch, no ego, just curiosity. The homeless man looked up and smiled. "Didn't expect to see you again," he said. They talked. Not for minutes, but hours. About books, about philosophy, about life. The man's name was Elliot. Once a professor of ethics and literature, once a husband, a father. One accident, one moment, a drunk driver, gone. His wife, his son, his home. He couldn't bear the noise of the world after that. So he chose silence. A bench, a city, a life outside the noise. Yet somehow he still smiled, still gave, still believed. The CEO listened, really listened, for the first time in years. No judgment, no interruptions, just truth, shared between 2 strangers from different worlds. In that moment, he understood something. Success isn't about how many floors your name is printed on. It's about how many lives you've touched. And this man, this nobody, had touched his life more than anyone ever had. The days that followed felt different. He still walked into his office tower. He still wore suits, signed deals, answered emails, but something inside him had shifted permanently. He began noticing things. The janitor who always smiled first. The barista who remembered his order, even when he didn't say a word. The intern who worked late, not to impress, but because she believed in the mission. For the first time in years, he saw people, not positions. Each morning, he stopped by the same bench. Sometimes Elliot was there, sometimes not. But the habit stayed. One day, as they sat in the crisp morning air, the CEO asked, "How do you keep smiling after everything you've lost?" Elliot took a breath, looked out at the passing crowd. "Because I realized something," he said. "The world can take your home, your title, even your loved ones, but it can't take your ability to give, unless you let it." That sentence sat heavy in the CEO's heart. It made more sense than any business seminar, any leadership book, any motivational quote he'd ever read. Success, he realized, wasn't measured in net worth. It was measured in how we choose to show up, especially when we have nothing to gain. That night, he couldn't sleep. But not from anxiety, from clarity. He opened a new folder on his laptop, named it The Bench Project. It would become a foundation, a safe space, a ripple effect of that one act of kindness. All because a man with nothing chose to give something. Not money, not advice, just presence and truth. And in doing so, he gave him something no wealth ever could: purpose. 3 months later, the bench had a plaque. It read, "To those who choose to see the unseen," in honor of Elliot. The CEO kept visiting, but one morning, Elliot wasn't there, nor the next, nor the week after. He asked around. No one knew. No name, no ID, no records. It was as if the man who changed his life had vanished like morning mist. But something remained, something real, something powerful. The foundation he started, the Bench Project, began as a small outreach, but it grew. Other CEOs joined. Mentorship programs for the homeless were launched. One bench became 10, then shelters, then startup hubs for those who had nothing but ideas. The ripples were endless. In an interview years later, a journalist asked, "What inspired you to create all this, to change direction so drastically?" He smiled, looked past the cameras, and quietly replied, "A man once told me that pride isn't everything, and giving, even when you have nothing, is the greatest power of all." There was a pause. Then he leaned in. "The richest man I ever met had no home, no title, no bank account, but he gave me everything I never knew I needed." The room fell silent, and somewhere, maybe on a new bench in another city, or maybe just in memory, Elliot was still smiling, because the greatest legacy is not carved in stone or printed on buildings. It's whispered in moments, shared in stories, and felt in lives, forever changed. If this story touched your heart, don't let it end here, because this is just one of many stories waiting to be told. Stories of resilience, of quiet strength, of the unseen heroes among us. Let us know in the comments. Have you ever been helped by a stranger? Or helped someone when no one was watching? And if you believe the world needs more light, more kindness, more stories like this one, hit that subscribe button. Join us here at Awakened Wisdom, because next time, the story might just be yours.